What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today I have a very special guest. The king of the kittens, Dream, has joined me today on his commentary crusade. Thank you for coming on today, Dream. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And obviously today is literally the day after your stream on John Swan, so I would be an idiot not to even bring up or talk about the John Swan drama. And the thing that's piqued my interest the most is, are you bringing out that sex mod?
No plans yet, but I'll have to consult with Skeppy because he's my code apparently, and once I talk to him about it, then we can work it out maybe.
I've seen it. People have been asking about it. People want it. So, but in all seriousness, I want to start off with the John Swan beef, the hottest topic of the week by far. Everyone's talking about it, especially in the commentary community. And for people at home, because a lot of people aren't going to know what this beef is about. I know you're probably sick to death of explaining it by now, but could you explain your point of view and why you two are actually beefing?
It's really dumb, but I mean, originally a year ago, well, over a year ago, we did a collaboration. He reached out to me. He had 6K subscribers or so at the time, and I decided to do a collab with him where I would talk to him in Discord with a little interview, kind of like this, and it was for a documentary he was doing on Minecraft. And a couple months later, after that, something happened where I got messaged by, I believe it was a couple people at the time, that messaged me saying like, oh, you know, somebody's impersonating you. It's John Swan and here's why. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh wow. And I messaged John Swan, and then he said somebody got on his account and did it. And then I literally didn't to him here since then. And then the last couple weeks he's been getting more, I think it has to do with the Stan stuff obviously, but he's been getting more, like, I guess I'll just say he's been getting more critical of me on Twitter, and somebody posted about that on a subreddit that was originally made to criticize me, and I saw that and I replied to it, just briefly talking about what had happened back then, and obviously he didn't like that I did that, and so he tweeted about it, and then obviously the rest has kind of been public since then. But
so his story is that a 12-year-old family friend was on his Discord account and was messaging these people and not actually him, and you don't believe his story, basically, is what is your point of view, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, I don't believe his story, and I think that my stream yesterday wasn't to say, oh, this is 100% definitive, even though I believe it's fairly definitive. It's just like, hey, it's not unreasonable for me to have thought that, and it's fair for me to express that opinion whenever I'm being dragged by this person. I thought it'd be fair, and I wasn't planning. I mean, I just did, like I said, it was on a small subreddit. It got 20 likes. Which isn't super relevant because it's saying anything that's an accusation or whatever, obviously, especially with my platform. But with me, like 20 likes in terms of when I have 18 million subscribers, 2 million followers, 1 million like depending on the different platforms, like 20 likes is like nothing. And so to me, I didn't think it was a big deal. Obviously, I've learned my lesson after that to go, okay, well, I should just keep that to myself. I mean, I didn't have to reply to that thread. But then after that, you know, everybody runs with it. Drama's drama, and you kind of have to reply to stuff. It's kind of like YouTube is very like, you don't address things, then they blow out, and then it becomes Dream slanders small YouTuber because he's evil, and then everybody hates me. And I think that's kind of the thing that I try and get out of the head of stuff. So I felt the need to reply, but it's made things worse, but just in general, because it gives things more attention. But
yeah, I think you are entitled definitely to believe John lied. I think in your shoes, you don't have to believe someone's story that they were hacked. I think it's definitely reasonable what you have believed. However, I don't think either one of you, I think it's fair to say, have any definitive proof that it was John or wasn't John, which I think is one of the things I do want to touch on, because I think on Keemstar's interview, I watched that. He agrees with you quite a lot. So you got your side of the story out on there, over 300,000 concurrent viewers on your stream you did yesterday. And if you haven't seen that, I will link it in the description so you guys can get every bit of context to this, because there's a lot more to talk about. But Keemstar mostly agreed with you, so I want to play a bit of devil's advocate in this interview, which I think you would be okay with. So I want to talk some about your weaker points that you made in your stream, because I do feel like you use these to try and convince your audience that you caught John Swan, when, if I'm being frank, these points are pretty trash.
Just before, I thought I'd preface with this. Like, obviously the stream, although it was talking about the issue, like if you watch the stream, you can tell how much for entertainment it is. Like, I'm hamming things up a lot. I'm like, I have a detective Minecraft skin on. I'm memeing about it. I think me making it less serious was also kind of in a way to like, hey, you know, let's minimize the seriousness of this a little bit.
With the commentary community, and you're streaming in front of 300,000 people, that won't fly. That's not like an excuse people will accept. It's just, it is what it is,
not an excuse. It's just an explanation to my
I know. Anyway, one of the arguments you make to prove John was one of the actual one using the Discord account and not the 12-year-old like John claims, and it's something you echo in your interview with Keemstar, is you constantly point out the grammar and different words a person on John Swan's account uses. And these are straight from your live stream quotes. The use of the word mate to you apparently proves that it's John Swan, saying uses the same phrasing again, uses mate, same grammar.
Uses the same phrasing again, uses mate, same grammar.
Is it really hard to believe that two people from Australia both use the word mate?
No, I mean, I don't think, even in the stream, I said, you know, it could be 50-50, you know, or maybe it's more, maybe it's 70-30 or whatever. Somebody of the same dialect would use mate and yup and all these other things combined together.
I mean, I'm from Britain, and mate is used like the same as Australia, and it's everyone uses it. If people use that as, it's very common. So I don't.
Yup is common as well. My main thing with that was, I wasn't saying any of that was definitive. It's just all these things. I was putting light on like 100 different things and going, look, I understand each of these things. None of them are, none of them other than one thing that I consider kind of smoking gun. None of them are definitive. It's all just when you combine them all together, it becomes more suspicious. Like, yeah, it's probably, it's probably not that uncommon for somebody to say yup. It's probably not that uncommon for somebody to say mate. It's probably not that uncommon for somebody to say exposed video. Or everything I mentioned, it's probably not that uncommon for somebody to have good grammar. When you talk about all those things combining into a 12-year-old family friend who lives far away from John, that apparently hasn't talked to John in a very long time, and then the transition from him, from the 12-year-old to him, and there's like no difference at all. That's what I was pointing out. It's kind of weird when you combine that with the fact that all these other things, and it makes it kind of
I want to
weird,
disagree with you there, because you do go on to say so you make the point saying yup, the word YUP for my audience. I also will show the clips alongside this.
He says yup. That's in his vocabulary. That's an interesting thing. His 12-year-old friend happens to say yup, just like him.
But this also apparently to you helps to prove it's John Swan. The use of the word yup, saying things such as his 12-year-old friends happen to say yup just like him. And as far as I know, I've never said yup in my entire life.
I have never, as far as I know, said yup in my entire life.
In which you proceed to pull up like 3 different cases where John says yup on Discord as your proof. As you end the segment by saying, and I quote, "I rest my case, I don't rest my case, that's not it. If it was it, it would probably be enough, but that's not it."
That's actually not it. If that was it, it's probably enough, but that's not it.
Well, everything
the
before
word
that, up to that
yup.
point. Like, I talked about a lot of stuff before that. Obviously, I didn't start with language. I had gone over. That was like 30 minutes.
But
into the
that
stream
was
when I'd already gone over a bunch of stuff. But obviously, I was joking. I said, "I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen." Whatever.
I know. Obviously, I understand you're playing up to the detective, but to say that almost the word yup was almost enough, I don't agree with that.
Well, I think my perspective is I wasn't, maybe it came across that way, but in no way whatsoever was I saying that yup was enough. And I even said in that clip, I said that it's probably 50-50 whether or not he said yup as well. Like in that 50-50, that doesn't, obviously that's not definitive in any way whatsoever. So even me saying that was my true viewpoint, is I think it's probably 50-50. Does he happen to say yup? Would he happen to use it because he uses it
Do you
frequently?
not think even that argument is just like ridiculous, like making it? Do you not think it's like a crazy argument?
No, not at all. Because when you're trying to say, hey, he's saying it's not him, and then I'm going, okay, let's
But
look at
yup.
all of the evidence provided.
It's the
you
word
can't really
yup.
well, it's not yup. It's when you combine everything together, like all the different,
yup,
all the different
mate?
phrases, the grammar, all these things.
The grammar? All right, we'll get on to the grammar. These points, this is what weakens your argument, Dream, a ton, that you focus on these like bullshit points.
Well, no, I
that,
didn't
like,
focus on it at all. I think you're focusing on it. I didn't focus on it in the stream. I made a joke about it.
The majority of your stream is focusing on grammar and these words, and then you go off onto some better points, which I will cover your better points as well. Like, this is just, as I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. But you do focus on these a ton, like you do, and I've watched this stream now at least 5-6 times. You do focus on this, and I think your young audience will eat stuff like this up, when in reality it's a very weak argument to what the point you're trying to prove. I think you did hurt yourself by making these arguments, to be honest.
Yeah, sure. I think I probably did, but I think the reason for that is just that I wasn't going in. I didn't have a script. I didn't have anything I planned to do. All I planned to do was I just threw all the screenshots I had into into Paint, and then was flipping through them. And so me making a joke about, I think it's funny talking about yup, and I zoomed in until it's like you can't even see that it's yup, and like I'm just being silent as I zoom in. Like, I'm making jokes about it. Obviously, I think if you throw that completely out, I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, I think that obviously there's the people on that are against it or whatever will focus on that because that's the weakest point at all throughout it. And I wasn't trying to use that as a strong point. It was just, hey, think about what are the odds of all of these things looking like this, and then also this 12-year-old has good grammar. Uses
yeah, but I don't understand that 12-year-olds
but...
can use grammar, Dream.
Sure.
You have 12-year-old fans on Twitter who use grammar. Why is the argument, which you echo quite a lot, is 12-year-olds big dumb, can't use grammar, so must be John Swan?
Well, no, I mean, obviously, and again, I never.
You
said
do
that,
say that.
I think with
that's
grammar,
what you imply.
It's when you combine things together.
12-year-olds can't use grammar.
I know when I was 12, I definitely didn't have impeccable.
But you point
grammar.
out basic grammar like full stops and capital letters.
Punctuation, capitals, and even on the a capital.
It's like, what, you think 12-year-olds are just like brain dead?
No, what I was comparing about the full stop is another thing that's similar to John. And again, this is something that is
every
50-50.
human uses full
let me say, because like he put it after he used after he said at the moment, right? ATM.
Yeah.
And to me, I would never do that. If I was saying ATM, that's informal.
you.
You're not going to use formal language when you use ATM, but John does. And so I was just all I was doing was I was saying, hey, all we have to work with is this in terms of text. Let's compare it and let's see what's similar. And I was looking at everything that I found was similar.
I don't know, man. It's extremely weak. Like the full stop at the end of ATM. Like a 12-year-old could put a full stop. If anything, the use of it after ATM doesn't really seem like something like an adult would do, because it's the word ATM isn't like a proper word. That John does
it. That's why I was pointing it out. It's because John does that.
John does ATM full stop.
The thing is, I looked at John's Reddit, like his Reddit account. I went into his Discord, all of his Discord messages. It feels
like you're trying to dissect like a serial killer or something, like handwriting. It's almost like, but it's Discord messages. Like it's impossible to do this.
I didn't make it a one of my number one arguments or anything, and I don't believe it at all.
Not your number one argument.
By far the weakest point, and I don't think I think the only reason I pointed it out at all, one, it's funny, and two, I think it does have some. It just makes you think a little bit more. Like, okay, it could be slightly suspicious. That's literally all it is.
It might make your fans who are a lot younger, because a lot of them after your stream have downright believed everything you said, obviously, because that's just the way fans are. I understand that. That isn't your fault at all. But they see that stream and they think,
man, all this stuff is crazy. It must be John Swan.
When in reality, to people like you and me, these are very, very weak points that, if anything, shouldn't even have been brought up, because I don't think it's any kind of proof against John Swan.
Because I think there's a lot of reasonable people that would look at that and go, yeah, it's not like a killer argument, but it's an argument that matters. Like if you're looking at it, like imagine it was completely different, then he could say, yeah, well, look, I don't speak at all like that, and that wouldn't be a weak argument for him. If he was like, look, this guy is speaking even when he first messages him, he doesn't use grammar. I always use grammar. So when you look at it from the opposite side, you'd be saying it's reasonable. So I'm saying from this case, I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it matters that much, but I don't think it's unreasonable at all. And I think it's fair to mention, and I think that it's something that even reasonable people can look at. But I think it really is opinionated. Like, obviously, you might have a different viewpoint on it than I do. But
yeah, I think it was such a weak point that you focus on too much. I do think you had good points as well, which I will move on to as well, because this is something that I've seen a lot of people talk about as well, this focus on grammar and words and just different things that were very nitpicked and just didn't help your case at all. But one thing that I think would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that John Swan is lying and that you're right is this part of your original Reddit post that you made, where you say that he sent people the N-word and a lot of other stuff, as well as sexual stuff, while claiming that it was me, and giving his main Twitter to vouch, where he would then from his main Twitter vouch that it was me and say that we were amazing friends and link the documentary to prove it. You read this on your stream and called it a tough accusation, but completely glossed over it. Where's the proof that this has happened? And
well, again, this happened a year ago. That's from my memory. Now there is after thinking about it, there is a small chance, a small minuscule chance that I misinterpreted what someone said about him having his Twitter linked to his Discord profile and saying, look at my Twitter, it's linked, to confirm it's him. But I do still believe and stick by that I believe someone messaged me at the time and said that. But again, it was a year ago. I have tons of Discord messages. I have no idea who it was. We only know the one person.
You're claiming he used his main Twitter to vouch. Is that what you were saying in that end part of the Reddit post?
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is that back then I remember somebody messaging me. I had multiple people message me, including Harley, who is the one witness or whatever. And I believe at the time they were saying, oh, he said he verified with his Twitter. What I'm saying is there's a chance that what they meant by that is that he had his Twitter linked to his Discord, because that's like a verified linked account, and I may have misunderstood that, or they may have misunderstood that. But I have no idea. All I know is that's what I meant.
That would incredibly help your case for sure if you could have found that for people, that he was vouching using his Twitter, because then there'd be no question that it was John Swan. But at the moment, there's obviously no evidence to prove this at all. But another argument you make, which is probably, I'd say, one of your biggest arguments, is that the family friend knew about the Lieutenant Cobra and Harley beef. They're having problems, and that your argument you made was that how could this family friend possibly have known about this beef between Lieutenant Cobra and Harley? It must have been John Swan who knew.
Things not working out with LT Cobra. LT Cobra is a friend of Harley that John Swan knew about, knowing saying that Harley was having issues. Interesting.
He brings up multiple things relative to knowledge that John Swan would have that the 12-year-old wouldn't have, including the Cobra thing. I know Cobra ended up saying that, ended up finding screenshots of him having messaged John the day before.
Yeah.
That John, apparently he was on a call with him, and John has multiple times on Twitter and elsewhere claimed that he wasn't on Discord for many days, and that contradicts that completely. So it's like every new piece of evidence come out, it's like it contradicts another piece of evidence that was used. And John said that even as recently that recently as like yesterday, tweeting on Twitter and tweet replies saying that Discord break for when if the Cobra screenshots are real and correct, then that means he would have been messaging the night before this happened, and then the next night, and that wouldn't even be like it wouldn't be a Discord break. And if it was, if he says, well, it was one day, then it would have happened to be the one day that he was hacked or whatever, where he took the Discord break. So that just, to me, that clouded it a little bit more. But it would make it slightly more likely that if a 12-year-old had access to his account and went and reviewed his other Discord messages and read through them, and then happened to retain that knowledge and be smart enough to ask about it to Harley, then that could be. But it also made me think maybe that that potentially, it maybe obviously I wouldn't even say it. It's speculation, but another one of their friends mentioned that that it potentially, if it was John, it could have been him and Cobra, because obviously Cobra and Harley had a falling out and they wanted to troll Harley, and that's what they did. But that's complete speculation. But again, one of their friends that was in a stream mentioned that could have been a
well, for the audience who don't have an idea, because we went through that very quickly, is that basically yesterday there was new evidence. The conversations in question on Discord are from the 7th of February 2020, and these screenshots that have been released by Lieutenant Cobra are from the night before, the 6th of February 2020, where he sent John Swan DMs between him and Harley where they were having problems, and the DMs clearly show that. So the argument is, because this would seemingly benefit John, is that if his kid was to log on to John Swan's Discord on the 7th, as John claims he did, these messages between Lieutenant Cobra and Harley would have been probably one of the first things he saw. So he would have known, he could have plausibly known about Lieutenant Cobra and Harley's problems. And the message he sent to Harley was only things not working out with Lieutenant Cobra. It wasn't incredibly insightful or as if he had crazy knowledge about it. It's pretty face value. So it makes it plausible anyway.
It definitely makes it more plausible than it was
that
before. Yeah,
this little kid could have gone on the account and seen that. So it's definitely interesting to hear that side. Does that make you change any arguments you made, or make you think differently, or are you still strongly believing that, you know, John Swan is,
I strongly believe, but I learned about that yesterday. It makes me a little less confident in the statement that there's no way that he would have known, because obviously now there is a way. Now, having what I heard from Harley and talked to Harley about, who was the only person that had known about the beef between Cobra and Harley, at the time Harley said that, oh well, no, I had messaged on Twitter, and Harley was on a fresh Discord account. So at the time of my stream, obviously I was like, there's literally no way. But yeah, that does make it like slightly more plausible that particular message could have not been due to prior knowledge by John Swan. But to me, I think it still wouldn't make as much sense. I messaged Cobra about it, and I asked him, because he was one of the other people that the guy messaged, according to them, and Cobra said that apparently the messages were deleted, and I have no idea why. That, to me, again, is another thing that makes me go like, why were they were deleted for Cobra, but they weren't deleted for Harley? Like, they didn't. More. It's just the more I look into it, just the more complicated it gets. I'm like, what the hell is what even is this? It's like a show. But
yeah, it is a huge show, to be honest. You're right. You know, like, this whole drama is something that I think was so small and has now blown up to crazy proportions, also with the help of you obviously doing your stream, which helps it blow it up just as much. And I guess you could say you started this drama because you were the one who responded on Reddit to all of it, which kicked all of this off. And like you said earlier, maybe that's a learning point for you not to do this if you don't want to get in more beef. However, you don't strike me as someone who is afraid of confrontation or beef, so maybe
the thing is, like, John Swan, like, I will say, like, because I am held to different standards, obviously, as a larger creator, because like John Swan has been crap talking me for the last like 2 weeks on Twitter, saying thing after thing after thing after thing about me and my fan base, and so and then I say one thing, and then it turns into this like, Dream is a manipulative liar. But obviously people have opinions on me from past things where it's like but people don't. It's hard for people to drop those past opinions and then look at each independent situation through an unbiased lens. But yeah, I do regret posting it because it was so pointless, and like, I don't really care. Like, to me, it was like oh, it makes sense. Like, the reason this guy doesn't like me is because I stopped talking to him. All I wanted to give was context. Before I say that, I want to give context to why I stopped talking to him. I didn't think it was a big deal, but yeah, I definitely learned from that, and I was like, okay, well, let's just not do that. And I've gone through a lot of stuff like that in the past where I learned, okay, well, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that.
How would you want this to end? Because this is something that I see not really ending with a definitive like winner or loser, unless John Swan gets the parents that he called up to vouch and like testify.
I mean, I don't think even then most people probably wouldn't buy that, or I definitely wouldn't. I guess depending on
it
the
depends
scenario,
it depends how credible it is, or like what in what way he recorded that sort of situation, obviously. But that to me is the only way there would be a definitive answer.
Yeah, I
because
think, to me, the only thing I wanted was, I was like, I just wanted him to be honest with me, and I still think, to me, that obviously I don't think that's going to happen. I think that there's always so many scenarios you can point to that are the same, where it's like once you dig yourself a hole, like you can't, it's hard to get out of, and so I don't expect that. I think the most likely scenario is he's going to put out some statement, whether it be a video or like a twit longer or something. That's probably going to be the end of it. But I don't know.
Would you resolve it with him? Would you shake hands or like call it a day, or would you not until he admits to you what you think is the truth?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it really depends on how things would go. Like, he did message me, and this is just me, full transparency. I messaged him the other day, and I had a call with him actually before my stream, and we talked for quite a while, like the other night. And we talked for probably 30 minutes or so. We were in the call. I was just telling him all the things from my perspective. And so I was just telling him, I was like, look, like, I understand, like, if it's like the N-word thing or whatever, because obviously that would make him not want to admit it. Like, everything else is not like the huge deal. I was like, look, if you're just honest with me and tell me about stuff, then we can resolve this. We can just resolve this privately and make it go away, and that's fine. And obviously he basically stuck to his story and said, oh no, I'm not lying, whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, I feel like at this point I have to defend myself then, because I believe that that's the case, and I have a right to defend myself if I believe I'm being slandered and called a liar. When the worst case scenario isn't that I'm a liar, it's that I shouldn't have brought it up. Maybe I could have been a little bit nicer in my reply on the Reddit thread. I was just sharing my opinion. Like, I was just sharing, oh, this thing happened, and this is what I think. This is what I think about it. After that, he messaged me and said, like, oh, well, we can end this. I recommend you just tweet out something saying, like, we resolved it in private or something. And then I didn't. I'll just be honest, I didn't reply, and then I did my stream.
So John said that to you? Okay. Yeah. That's interesting as well. Man, the stuff that becomes drama these days, it's f***ing crazy, to be honest. But because it's such a, everyone's looking at it now to see who's lying and who's telling the truth, it becomes more than just what the drama is. People are very curious to find out. I think this will help people make their own mind up a little bit more. I think your stream obviously was more like caught him in 4K at the end. Obviously, I know it's a meme, but your fans took that as, this guy's guilty, let's go get him now. That's just how,
4K was trending on Twitter, which is why I said that. I mean, I was joking along with my fan base, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's fine, but I think a lot of your fans also genuinely think John Swan is 100% guilty, when I don't agree with that at all. I don't think either of you have definitive proof to state a claim that you're both guilty or innocent at the moment. I think your arguments, you have some decent arguments. I think the one with the kid not knowing about Lieutenant Cobra, I think this new evidence does hurt that argument quite a lot, because now there is plausible way to believe this story, and if more evidence comes out along this line where there's things that this kid could see, if there was hypothetically more evidence like this, because I'd say this was pretty good evidence for John, and say there was a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more now and then, would you concede if that was the case? I'm not saying it is going to be the case.
To me, the smoking gun, the thing that convinced me, I'll tell you, before I had the conversation with John, but after the whole tweet scenario, being who I am, I looked into it because I felt bad. I was like, okay, well, if I'm saying this, I need to make sure, like, 100%. And the biggest thing to me was the new name being his best friend. And to me, that is like, there is no explanation for that.
What would John's motive be for changing it to his best friend?
No, so my theory is that because I talked to Harley about it as well, and it wasn't changed recently. So it wasn't changed in the last like week or so. It wasn't changed because of this drama. It was changed at some point in the past. And so my theory in regards to that is just like, they probably just forgot, whoever did it, the alt account, probably just forgot about the fact that they had done the dream thing on that account or something, and changed it. So I don't know the motive. Maybe John was trolling his friend, or maybe if it was one of John's friends that had that account, maybe they were trolling his friend, or maybe they changed it. But I think that just like people were saying in the speedrunning case and in other cases, like in this case, motive doesn't matter as much as it just doesn't make
makes sense. And there has to be an explanation for it. Otherwise, it would have to be either John or one of his friends, because this 12-year-old who after I found this information, I was like, okay, well, maybe the only explanation that I can think of, that it'd still be weird, but the only explanation I could possibly think of is if he had talked to this kid recently and they were still kind of friends or whatever. And so he knew about his friend group and he had reason to still be involved in the community and still doing trolls and whatever else. Maybe. So I called John and I indiscreetly, without even mentioning why, I asked him like, oh, so you talked to this guy recently? He said, oh, I literally haven't seen him or spoke to him or known anything about him since then. And I was like, okay, well then what's the explanation? Like I didn't, that's what to me convinced me full on.
But Nick has been a prominent member of the commentary community for a while. It's John Swan was associated with and people would know. It's not out of the realm of possibility to think his 12-year-old friend who follows John Swan would know about Nicholas DeOrio.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be that surprised if he knew about Nicholas DeOrio, but I think there's obviously thousands and thousands of people out there that you could choose to impersonate, and choosing to impersonate John Swan's best friend randomly, 8 months later. Oh, and just for further context, there are screenshots from Harley from like a month or so ago of the name still being Dream. So it was changed recently, but not like recently. Like it was changed within the last couple months, but not due to this drama. Like it wasn't changed after this drama. And so it's, to me, again, it's like, yeah, so like a year, like 8 months later after this whole drama thing, like that alt account all of a sudden becomes active and then is impersonating John Swan's best friend. And that's what they claim. I think it caught them off guard, because then whenever Harley posted that, John Swan replied and said like, oh, this kid's going after you now, or something about Nicholas. Like they didn't even realize that.
So who do you think's behind that account then? So you think it's John, like still using that account as a Nicholas DeOrio account, or you think it's Nick? Like who do you think is controlling that account?
I have no idea, and I feel like I've speculated like it could be one of his friends. Or I think it's almost definitely like 99% one of his friends or him. I think it's probably more likely to be one of his friends, and the only reason I think that is because of the fact that in the screenshot that he sent to Harley originally, they're in a Discord call and one mic is lit up and the other one isn't, and none of the mics are muted, and so that makes me think that they're actually in a call and stuff. So it'd be hard to pull off if it was one person doing two different accounts. And so that to me makes it seem like, okay, it's probably John and his friend were trolling. It could be based on the speculation of one of, I think it was actually Nicholas. I'm not sure though. Definitely not sure on that, but I think it was one of John's friends on a live stream speculated that if it was John, it would probably be John and Cobra. It would kind of make sense just because Cobra had the falling out with Harley, and then Harley was the one getting trolled and so on and so forth. But then again, that's just complete speculation. I have no idea, but yes, so I'm just giving my thoughts,
of course.
But...
No, I appreciate you just saying it how it is. Yeah, it's a weird one because with Discord as well, anyone can change your name to anything. Like that's why people impersonate you. You can instantly change your name to anything. I think that is probably still the question that a lot of people want to get answered as well about that Nicholas DeOrio thing.
When I called with Harley the other night, he had checked. I was like, okay, we'll check the mutual servers, because that'd be a good thing to be able to see what happened. Is there any mutual servers with you, right? So he clicked on mutual servers and there was none. But on Discord, whenever you click on somebody's name, it shows what mutual servers they're on before you click mutual servers, and there was one listed there. So that means that the account was in the server and had recently left it. And the server that, so probably very recently, if it was still showing up under his name but not on the mutual server list. But we checked out the Discord and it's a YouTuber Discord. So anyone can join it, but it's like a YouTuber commentary Discord. To me, again, that just adds to it. Like, how would the 12-year-old find this like kind of private Discord and join it and be in that Discord, and then obviously recently leave?
I mean, maybe he wanted to learn about YouTube, as John implied. Maybe.
Oh, come on. It was to learn on an alt account called like Nicholas or whatever. Like
I don't know. Well, that's the thing with Nicholas DeOrio. The Nicholas DeOrio name change is weird because I can't imagine that being John Swan either, because he wouldn't. I can't imagine him pretending to be his best friend, and Nicholas DeOrio, it's definitely not him. I would put a good bet on that. So I think it's definitely someone other. I think not definitely, actually, I'll take that back. I think it could be someone who's not John Swan. I think I just can't imagine that scenario where he does that. However, you can, so that's just your point of view, this is my point of view, and I'm not saying or discrediting what you say, because it is a weird turn of events in that whole scenario. I think that's probably one of the things that people are questioning the most as well. And something that I don't know if we'll ever find an answer to be honest.
Yeah, and again, I think it's more likely that alt account is not him and wasn't him. And so that's why I think it's probably him and one of his friends would be my best guess. But my only guess for why they would change the name to that, especially if it was John, maybe like imagine they were trying to make like a meme or something, and so they changed their name to Nicholas and joined that Discord to then send memes or something, like as if he's him, as like a joke, because he's messing with his best friend.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces to this and a lot of speculation as well.
My main problem was that a lot of the commentary channels were all saying Dream slanders John Swan and Dream lies about John Swan, and then John Swan even was saying like, how I can't believe, like, why would he believe me? And then so many people were like a lot of his friends and stuff were replying like, yeah, why wouldn't he believe you and stuff? And I'm sitting here like, well, you can at least recognize, a reasonable person can recognize at least that it would be reasonable of me to be confused in this situation and think that, okay, it's probably him or one of his friends. And more at that time, because he had 6K subs, it's more likely for me to believe that he's just, you know, I don't know him as a person. I just did one collab with him. It's more likely for me to believe, oh, it's just this guy trolling, than the, you know, my brother hacked my account excuse that even you know, when I was a little kid, I said stuff like that. I remember an email I sent.
I don't think it is unreasonable of you at all. I don't think so anyway. I think if anyone was in your shoes, they would question it, because the excuse of someone else on my account is something we've all heard before. However, that's unfortunate for John Swan, because it's an excuse as old as time. But if it's real, exactly, it's something that it's harder for people to believe. However, now we have evidence for both sides. I think people should go out, obviously wait to see what John Swan has to say as well. I know a lot of Dream stands will be watching this, probably won't even care what John Swan has to say. However, it's important. It's important to, you know, listen to other people's side of things. It's nice to have Dream on here to hear what he has to say as well, and ask him actual, you know, pressing questions that he had answers for. So I'm glad that we actually got to do this. I think it'll give people some more information as well on the whole subject matter. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, massive props to you. I know that me and you know, I made videos on your stands, and you definitely have seen me talk negatively about you and your stands. So to come on, I have big respect for as well. So yeah, that is it. Thanks for Dream for coming on. I really appreciate everyone who watches. Form your own opinion. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the drama, of the evidence put forward. You know, who do you believe? Because ultimately that is what is up for grabs. It's definitely a tough one. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, fuck off.